All right, so today we're diving into something, well, kind of sunny, kind of stormy. Honestly, a little scary if you ask me.
Hmm.
Florida's real estate market.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all been asking us to cut through the hype, right?
Yeah.
Hope you understand what's really at stake if you want to own a piece of Florida, especially with these hurricanes lately.
Right.
So we've got a whole bunch of articles here from Business Insider, personal stories, the works, to try and unpack this.
Yeah, it's really interesting timing, actually. All these recent storms, they kind of show you that clash, between the dream of Florida and then climate change. Like,
Yeah,
what does that even do to houses, to prices, all that?
for sure. And I always think, like, the best way to wrap your head around something complicated
Yeah.
is hear it straight from someone who's lived it.
So,
So, Business Insider, they connected us with this woman, Alexis. She's actually a real estate agent herself down in Bradenton.
oh, okay.
And a Hurricane Helene just completely flooded her bungalow.
Oh, no.
Not just like a little leak. We're talking 3 feet of water. FEMA said it's unlivable, the whole thing.
Wow. That's rough. It really makes you think about those risks, doesn't it? Like, behind the sunshine and beaches, Florida's got some serious weather to deal with.
And it throws a wrench in your life.
Mm.
Suddenly you're juggling hotels, insurance people, contractors. I mean, Alexis is looking at maybe 3, 6 months to rebuild if she's lucky.
Oh, wow.
And that's best case scenario. If she's got to start over from zero, could be 18 months.
It makes you really scrutinize those homeowners insurance policies, huh? Like what's actually covered, what kind of deductibles you might be on the hook for, because that's a whole other can of worms we're going to get into, how insurance plays into all this.
Oh, and speaking of insurance, get
Yeah.
this. Alexis was paying something like $7,000 a year just for flood and hazard insurance on that bungalow.
Seriously.
Yeah, wild, right? Her cabin up in North Carolina, $700 a year, she said. Big difference.
See, that right there tells you how vulnerable Florida is to hurricanes. It's not just a feeling, it's like baked into the cost of owning property.
And the damage these hurricanes cause. We're talking billions, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wonder Force's head CoreLogic estimate said Helene alone, just wind and flood damage, not even counting everything else, somewhere between $30.5 and $47.5 billion across 16 states.
Yeah, and even those numbers are just the tip of the iceberg, really. We're talking insured losses, stuff people can put a dollar sign on. But the human side of it, lives disrupted, communities messed up, the emotional toll, that's way harder to measure.
That's a good point. Easy to forget about that when you're talking money, but
Mm,
people's lives get turned upside down.
exactly.
But here's the thing. Even with all that, people still love Florida. They're moving there all the time.
It's kind of wild, right? Like you've got Florida, statistically speaking, the most hurricane-prone state we got. And I think it was Guidewire that said almost 1 out of every 3 homes there at risk of storm surge flooding.
And for anyone who doesn't know, storm surge is that wall of water, right,
Mhm.
that hurricanes push onto land. Crazy dangerous, super destructive.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got that inherent risk, but prices haven't crashed. People still want that Florida lifestyle, sun, warmth.
So it makes you wonder, are people not getting the full picture? Or is it more like the market hasn't caught up with how risky things really are? And that disconnect, right, between what people think is going on and what's really going on, that's where insurance comes in. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's the big question mark,
Yeah.
that hidden cost that can completely derail the whole Florida dream.
It's like this perfect storm brewing, but in the insurance market.
Right, right.
They've got these big companies, farmers, bankers. They're like, we're out,
Ah.
leaving homeowners high and dry, trying to find coverage.
And then you've got FEMA too, right? They're the ones who do the national flood insurance. And they're putting out these new guidelines that could make premiums go up like 300% or more, some folks are saying.
300%.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Imagine getting that bill. So yeah, no wonder people trying to BUI in Florida, they're getting cold feet when they see the insurance situation.
And it's not just flood insurance either,
Yeah.
Like just regular homeowners insurance in Florida, our sources said that's already over $10,000 a year on average.
$10,000 just to insure your place.
Yeah.
That's a huge chunk of change. And that's before anything bad even happens, right?
Yeah.
Like what about deductibles of all the extra stuff you got to pay if they're a hurricane?
And this is the kicker, it's going up.
Yeah.
Capital economics, they're saying these rates are rising faster than they have in like 20 years.
So it's not like, oh, it'll settle down. This is just how it is now.
Yeah, no, not really.
So this isn't just about, oh, I want a cute beach house anymore, right? It's like, can you even afford it?
It's a whole different ballgame now. You really have to sit down and crunch those numbers. Can you make this work long term?
And it's messing with the whole market, these crazy insurance prices. We were reading about real estate agents, people on the ground. Buyers are getting scared off, especially the ones who aren't looking at those multi-million-dollar places.
Yeah, makes sense.
There was this one agent, Katie Malaw, in St. Petersburg. She said a client of hers had to cut their asking price by 40% just to get someone interested.
Wow. 40%. That tells you something.
And another agent said her client was so desperate to sell, they were offering to pay for a whole year of the buyer's flood insurance.
Wow. Just to get it off their hands. So yeah, even if prices overall haven't tanked, you can see the fear, right?
Yeah. Total anxiety.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of it comes back to flood insurance, or I guess not having it, which is what a lot of Floridians are doing, it seems.
It's that gamble, right?
Yeah.
I'm not in a flood zone, I'll be fine. But what they don't always get is their regular homeowners insurance, it's not going to cover hurricane flooding most of the time.
And that's why Helene was such a wake-up call. That storm surge was insane. I mean, places miles from the coast were flooding.
Yeah.
So suddenly, people who thought they were totally in the clear, they're screwed. Major damage, no insurance.
And those repairs, man, that can bankrupt you. So some people are having to sell, even if they lose money, because they literally can't afford to stay.
It's a tough situation all around. Really highlights how, even if you're not in the hurricane's direct path, the side effects, they can still get you.
So we've got insurance going nuts, buyers freaking out, people facing these huge losses.
Mess.
Is this it then? Is the Florida market going to crash?
The million-dollar question. And of course, our sources had, shall we say, differing opinions on that.
Of course they did.
Right, like some of them were saying, nah, the market's strong. They pointed to, like, Hurricane Ian last year, huge, right? But prices bounced back.
Yeah, they always seem to, don't they?
It's that Florida thing, right? People love it.
It's powerful.
But then you've got the other side saying, nope, this is a bubble, it's going to burst. Their argument is the prices now, they don't take into account how risky it really is because of floods.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah. And get this, there was a study, I think it was in Nature magazine, they said Florida real estate is overvalued by over $50 billion just because of flood risk.
$50 billion. That's
a lot of money.
That's wild. So who do we believe? Is Florida a good investment, or is it going to come crashing down?
The age-old question, isn't it? And unfortunately, there's no simple answer.
Yeah, I figured.
But what is clear is that the old rules of the game, they don't apply the same way anymore.
How so?
It used to be all about location, 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 right? Now it's, what's the climate risk? How much is insurance going to cost me? Can I even live here in 20 years?
Makes you think twice about that whole paradise thing, huh?
It really does make you rethink things, yeah.
Like, okay, maybe it's beautiful, but is it worth it?
Right, exactly. And that's kind of the point of all this, you know? We're not trying to give you a thumbs up or down on Florida. It's more like, here's the info, here's what we're seeing, and you got to decide for yourself, does this fit with my life-wide risk tolerance?
Got to do your own homework.
Exactly.
And it's a lot. Like, thinking back to Alexis, with her flooded house. I don't know, knowing all this now, about the insurance being crazy expensive, the chance of losing everything, does that Florida dream even make sense anymore?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's tough. There's no easy answer that fits everyone.
Yeah.
It all boils down to your own situation, finances, how much risk you're comfy with, and yeah, that emotional pull of Florida, how strong is that?
Some people, they just got DTA there.
Right. And if that's you and you're okay with maybe some big costs down the line, then yeah, maybe it works.
But you got to know what you're getting into.
90%.
Don't just look at the house price.
Right.
Think about insurance going up, repairs, maybe even another hurricane. Who knows?
Because let's be real, Florida's climate, it's not going to magically change overnight.
Sadly, no.
So those risks, they're baked in now. That's just part of the deal if you want to live there.
So if you're thinking about it, you really got to ask yourself some tough questions. What am I willing to pay? Not just money, but like stress, worry, all that for this.
Right. What's it worth to you personally?
Exactly. Because it seems like that cost, it's going up.
Yeah.
Well, this has definitely given me a lot to think about. Hopefully you all feel a little more informed now, too, about what's really going on in that Florida market.
Definitely a lot to consider.
That's it for this deep dive, folks. Until next time, keep asking those tough questions and do your research before you jump into any big decision.
Absolutely. Happy house hunting.